Imagine a time in Ming China where Neo-Confucian scholars were devoted to studying the world with utmost diligence. The reigning orthodoxy was Ju's Chengdu school, which dominated intellectual life for centuries. Jushi taught that the universe is structured by principles known as Li, which exist objectively in every part of the world. To understand morality or the cosmos, scholars had to carefully investigate external objects, texts, and rituals, aligning their lives with these principles through disciplined study. Think of it as trying to learn the rules of a complex game by observing the board and pieces. The knowledge is out there, waiting to be discovered. But Wang Yangming, the founder of the Yangming School, saw a problem. He noticed that many scholars became experts in theory. They could quote texts, interpret Li, and perform rituals flawlessly, but their knowledge often failed to transform their hearts or actions. Moral understanding remained abstract. Ethical life did not follow naturally. In other words, they knew the rules but did not play the game with genuine insight. Wang Yangming proposed a radical shift. The source of principle is not out there in objects or text. It is inside the human mind itself. The mind, or Xing, contains the entirety of moral truth. True knowledge is not separate from action. To know what is right is to act rightly. Think of it like this. A musician does not merely read the notes on a page. They must feel the melody, let it guide their fingers, and bring it to life. Knowledge and action are inseparable. By placing the mind at the center, Wang challenged the dualistic framework of Jushi, which separated Li and Qi. Ju's system treated the cosmos as a hierarchical order. The human spirit must align with universal principles through careful study and ritualized effort. Wang, however, argued that moral guidance flows naturally from the mind itself. If one's mind is aligned and cultivated, the correct principles will manifest spontaneously in action. In essence, Yangmingism turned Neo-Confucian thought inward, where Jushi emphasized external investigation, Wang emphasized introspection and moral intuition. The scholar is no longer a passive observer of the world. They are an active generator of ethical truth, capable of uniting thought and practice seamlessly. This inward focus would have profound implications, not only for Ming and Qing intellectual life, but also for the later development of Korean Confucianism, where political moral action and the cultivation of the self became central concerns. Yangmingism reminds us that knowledge is not only a matter of understanding, it is the lived expression of the mind, inseparable from how one acts in the world. During the Ming Dynasty, Wang Yangming introduced the revolutionary turn in Neo-Confucian thought. He collapsed the duality that had long structured Confucian philosophy by declaring that the mind is principle, Xin Ji Li. In simpler terms, Wang argued that moral principles are not out there in text or external objects waiting to be discovered. They are innate within each person's mind. Through introspection and immediate moral intuition, anyone can access these principles. Knowledge and action, thought and practice are inseparable. This shift was not merely theoretical. Wang's philosophy was forged in the crucible of real-world crises, political corruption, peasant rebellions, and widespread intellectual stagnation. As a statesman and general, he witnessed firsthand the consequences of ethical failure and the limits of abstract speculation. During his exile, after openly criticizing a powerful Yunonchi-led court faction, Wang experienced a profound insight. He realized that moral knowledge must be lived, not just studied, and that action arises naturally from a cultivated mind. To visualize this, imagine two maps, one drawn carefully on paper with all landmarks and routes outlined but never actually visited, and another created from walking the land, observing, learning, and acting in real time. Zhu Xi's approach resembles the first map. Principles are external, guiding study and ritual, but often disconnected from daily life. Wang's approach is the second. The mind contains the map, and moral understanding emerges as it engages directly with the world. From an inner ontology perspective, Zhu Xi's system emphasizes outward differentiation, the material world, the manifestation of Qi, guided by inner coherence, the organizing pattern of Li. But this focus on external investigation risks imbalance, prioritizing observation over lived engagement. Wang Yangming restores equilibrium by integrating the inward and outward. The mind provides the coherent source, while action expresses that source outwardly in the world. It is a relational rhythm where thought and practice, principle and expression sustain one another. In this sense, Wang becomes a pivotal mediator in Confucian evolution. He bridges the static hierarchy of Zhu Xi, which risks rigidity, with the more dynamic and practical applications that later flourished in Korean Confucianism. Knowledge and action are no longer separable domains. They pulse together, forming a living ethical rhythm that guides both personal cultivation and social responsibility. At the heart of Wang Yangming's philosophy lies the concept of innate knowledge, or Liangji. He taught that every human being carries within them an intuitive moral compass, capable of distinguishing good from evil, without relying on external learning or rote study. This is not mere abstract insight. It is immediate, spontaneous, and alive, much like Mencius's idea of moral sprouts. Wang took this further. Liangji is not just a seed. It is the mind's original substance. It is always present, but often clouded by selfish desires or habitual distractions. Through careful self-cultivation, one can recover this inherent moral clarity. To make this vivid, consider Wang's famous parable. A child is about to fall in a well. Even without deliberation, bystanders instinctively rush to save the child. This immediate compassion reveals the presence of Liangji, moral knowledge as a natural, pre-reflective response. When we reinterpret this through inner ontology, Liangji corresponds to inner coherence. Think of the mind as an IOI in a pre-differentiated state. It carries a sub-superposition of moral potential or wholeness yet to be expressed outwardly. Selfish desires and distractions act like entanglements, distorting the natural alignment between the inner core and the outward world. Recovering Liangji is therefore akin to resolving inner entanglement. The inner moral core realigns with outward action, restoring harmony. In practical terms, this means introspection is not just reflection, it is an ontological resonance. The mind actively draws inwards, gathering ethical coherence, which then radiates outward in actions that are consistent with its inner moral pattern. Just as IO views consciousness as a self-replenishing, recursive process, Liangji is the mind's internal rhythm, a continuous balancing of inward potential and outward expression, where the ethical and the ontological coincide. In this way, Wang Yangming transformed moral cultivation into a dynamic living process, showing that ethical clarity emerges naturally when inner coherence is recovered and harmonized with outward engagement. His philosophy becomes not just an instruction for moral life, but a profound ontological insight into the structure of consciousness itself. Wang Yangmin's most celebrated teaching is the doctrine of unity of knowledge and action, or Ji-Xing Hei. He asserts that true knowledge cannot exist apart from action, famously stating, "There has never been anyone who knows but does not act." Knowledge is not a mere intellectual exercise. It is moral awareness that compels practical engagement. One critiqued Ju's approach where one might understand the principle intellectually, yet fail to embody it in behavior. What one saw as a form of empty, hypocritical knowledge. Through the lens of inner ontology, we can deepen this insight. Knowledge corresponds to inner coherence, the gathering and clarification of moral insight within the mind. Action corresponds to outward differentiation, the expression of this insight in concrete relational context. In IO terms, Ji-Xing Hei is the rhythmic integration of inward and outward dynamics. To illustrate, imagine a person who understands that helping others is virtuous, but never intervenes when help is needed. This is stagnant inward coherence. Knowledge exists, but without outward expression, it remains unrealized. Conversely, a person who acts impulsively without reflection, helping here, ignoring there, is a case of chaotic outwardness. Energy and activity exist, but without coherent moral guidance. Wang's philosophy insists that only when inward understanding flows naturally into outward action does ethical life emerge, a self-generating, recursive process akin to IO's inner entanglement. Wang further emphasized extending Liangji, cultivating the mind's innate moral sense through engagement with the world. This mirrors IO's idea that inward potential becomes meaningful only when entangled with outward context. In this view, Li, principle, and key, material force, are not separate entities, but directional modes of a single generative process, much like IO's representation of complex valued entities, with the real part as inward coherence and the imaginary part as outward expression. The practical dimension of Yangmingism reinforces this ontological insight. Wang's philosophy was tested in action. As a military commander and statesman, he applied his principles to suppress rebellions, govern effectively, and navigate political crises. His successes demonstrate that moral insight, when aligned with decisive action, generates tangible outcomes. In this way, the self emerges through relational engagement, entanglement, and virtue is cultivated not in isolation, but in dynamic interaction with the world. Ultimately, Ji-Xing Hei embodies a living, rhythmic ontology. Knowledge and action are inseparable, inward potential and outward expression are mutually sustaining, and ethical life is generated through the continuous participatory engagement of mind and world. Yangmingism reach extended far beyond China, leaving a profound imprint on Korean Confucianism during the Joseon dynasty. While Jews' Neo-Confucian orthodoxy dominated Korea from the 15th century onward, Wang Yangmin's mind-centered philosophy arrived via Ming envoys and trade, stirring both curiosity and controversy. Orthodox Korean scholars often viewed Wang's focus on the mind and innate moral knowledge as heretical, fearing it resembled Buddhism's subjectivism. They worried that emphasizing individual moral intuition could undermine ritual propriety, social hierarchy, and the Confucian ideal of collective order. Yet, despite these critiques, Yang captured the imagination of reform-minded thinkers who saw in it a tool for bridging theory and practice. This tension gave rise to Silhak, or practical learning, a Korean intellectual movement spanning the 70th to 90th centuries. Silhak scholars sought to address real-world challenges, from land inequality to governance inefficiencies. Figures like Yu Hyung-won and Jung Yak-yong drew directly from Wang's insistence on action-oriented ethics. They adopted Yang Ming's principle that knowledge is inseparable from practice, Ji Xing-hei, to social reform. For instance, Chirac's proposals for land redistribution and welfare policies reflect this philosophy. Understanding social inequality alone was insufficient. Practical, measurable action was required to generate justice. Through the lens of inner ontology, one serves as a mediator between inner coherence and outer differentiation. Jewish rationalism emphasizes studying external principles, but without an internalized self-reflective anchor. It risked producing static scholarship, detached from life. One restored balance. Moral insight naturally generated ethical action. In Korea, this translated into dynamic entanglement. Confucianism evolved from rigid ritualism into a living framework where thought and action reinforced each other. Shira can be understood as an emergent structure within this inner field. Practical reforms, grounded in moral introspection, the movement embodies the rhythmic principle of I/O, where ethical reflection is inseparable from social engagement, and the field of human relations becomes a medium through which inner understanding manifests outwardly. In short, Yangmingism did not merely introduce new ideas to Korea. It enabled the transformation of Confucian practice, showing that moral knowledge must resonate through action, and that societal improvement is a natural extension of inner cultivation. Shilak in this sense is the living proof of Wang's inner philosophy, a philosophy that moves from mind to world, from thought to effect, in continuous self-generating harmony. The Yangmin School, with its focus on innate knowledge and unity of thought and action, was a bold departure from Jewish rationalist neo-Confucianism. Yet, Wang Yangmin, brilliant as he was, could only intuitively describe the connection between mind and action. He lacked a formal framework to show how inward moral insight and outward practice were part of a single generative structure. This is where inner ontology enriches his philosophy. I/O introduces the concept of IOIs, which allows us to see the mind as an inward IOI and the action as its outward projection. They are not separate. Rather, they are entangled, co-emerging directions of the same underlying field. In this light, Wang's mind-action unity is no longer just an ethical principle. It becomes an ontological process. The mind is not isolated, drifting in subjectivist abstraction. Instead, it is relationally emergent, constantly interacting with the world through the very act of moral expression. Ethically, I/O extends Ji Xing-hei beyond human practice into the cosmos. Moral cultivation aligns inward coherence with outward engagement, participating in a universal rhythm. In Wang's terms, everyone can be a sage is not a utopian claim, but a statement of a relational potential. Every individual has access to this rhythm, and through action can contribute to a self-generating ethical field. I/O also addresses a potential criticism of Yangmingism, quietism, while the overemphasis on inward reflection at the expense of action. By stressing entanglement, I/O ensures that inward insight naturally demands outward manifestation. Reflection without engagement is incomplete. Ethical potential must always ripple outward. In contemporary terms, this insight helps counter akrasia or weakness of will. Knowledge becomes inseparable from action, promoting integrity even in complex relational environments. Ultimately, the synthesis of Yangmingism and IO shows how neo-Confucian thought evolves dynamically. Wang bridges the rigid rationalism of Juxi and the practical reformist traditions like Chirac. IO provides the structural depth that Wang lacked, portraying inward mind and outward action as complementary directions of a single generative rhythm. This reinterpretation resolves historical tensions and highlights Yangmingism's enduring relevance. Ethical coherence emerges not in isolation, but through entangled participation in the world. Through this lens, Wang Yangming is a mediator in Confucian evolution, connecting introspection and reform, individual cultivation and social transformation, revealing philosophy as a fundamentally relational, self-generating process.